Good evening. It is April the 10th, Monday, and it's been a gorgeous day today. I've been working really hard on the garden today. The sun is going down over the ridge, and I would like to talk a moment about some of the issues I've been having with my garden. Getting a garden started, which is basically what I did since I let the garden go unattended to last year. And we had hogs in this area here. And it's as you can see, it's a very large garden spot that we've got here. So the first thing that I did was that I started picking up rocks. Rocks and rocks and rocks and rocks and rocks and started piling them around the edge of the barrier. And so I've got rocks all the way down. So every place that there was a gap that the hogs had rooted out is all getting covered with rocks. So I got a lot of the rocks in this area picked up. Okay, second issue then happened. Took my handy dandy little Mantis rototiller here and started trying to rototill this area through here, and I would go about 3 minutes and the tines would get stuck with rocks. So we would have to turn off the Mantis and have to turn it over on its side, and then I would have to dig out the rock out of the tines, and I realized very, very quickly that I was not going to be able to do that for this entire large garden. So I thought, okay, the next step would be to go up. So I decided to go with the raised beds. In the meantime, I had gone and checked on my fruit trees, and all of my fruit trees had been eaten by the goats, and they had, I imagine, enjoyed every bite of it. So I realized that the only way that I was going to be able to keep fruit trees was I was going to have to put it inside of my fenced area here, and this is a 7-foot fence, 2x4, no climb horse fencing, 5 foot up, and then 2 strands of barbed wire on the top here. That's to keep the deer out. This is to keep the rabbits out, or any other thing that wants to come in and munch on my garden. So I went and I got some trees on sale, picked them up one at a time, and then I proceeded to start putting them in the garden. Now as we look this direction up towards the water tower, this area right up through here, that's north. And we veer around through here, and that's east. And so we're going around through here, and right around through here between like the barn and stuff is south. And then you can see that over here where the sun is going down in this corner is west. So what I did was that since this is the northern side, I went and I have planted trees. I have an Iberta peach, another Iberta peach. I planted a Belle of Georgia here. I have them 20 feet apart. We got 6 different trees, 20 feet apart. So this is a Belle of Georgia, and she's about 5 feet tall. And then we come over here and we have a Red Haven peach, and she's probably 7 foot tall. And then we go on down and we have probably a 7 or 8 foot, this is a semi-dwarf Fuji apple, and she's probably, at least 7 or 8 foot tall. And finally, we have a Macintosh. And the reason that we have all the different types is that the apples need another type of apple to cross-pollinate. We've got some blooms on this one. To cross-pollinate. So with the 2 different kinds of apples, they'll cross-pollinate with each other, and I'll be able to have apples. And with the 3 different species or types of peaches, I will be able to have some peaches, hopefully. Okay, then what I did was that one of my neighbors does lumber. He cuts down trees, and processes the trees and takes it to the lumber yard. And so he's always got, that's where we get our sawdust from. And he has mulch. And what he did was that he had 2 huge pickup trucks of mulch that I got from him. And that's what this is. So I'm going to take all of this area here from the fence out. And I'm going to go 10 feet away from the trees. From where the trees are, 10 feet away, which will give approximately 18 feet from the fence to where my first bed will be, which is what is happening over here. So that's 18 feet from the fence. Okay, so then I decided I wanted to do 16-foot grow boxes or 16-foot raised beds, which should be great because I thought I already had on hand 8-foot lumber from where I used to live. I had a project that was going, and then when I moved here, I took all my wood with me. That worked great, except for the wood wasn't 8 foot long. It was 10 foot long. Did some quick math, and so I have from this corner here to here, 10 foot. Then I took one of the 10 foots, and right here you can see the splice. I took and put a 6 foot from the 10 and a 4 foot from the 10. 4 plus 6 is 10. So this is my 4 foot went here, 6 foot went there. I took 2 of these metal bracey things. I don't know what they're called. These are things that I had on hand. And I kind of, quote unquote, spliced the wood together. And I put the short end here to the left, and on the other side, it's to the right. The next thing that I did was that nothing here is level. Nothing here is level at all. So what I had to do was I had to build up this corner here. So I took dirt from a high spot over there by that tree, grabbed the dirt and stole it and kind of packed it in over here on this side to raise it up some. Put some rocks in here to raise it up a little bit. It's still not totally level, but it's a whole lot better than what it was. I then took and put vermiculite, peat moss, and manure compost in the box. This, like I say, this box is 4 foot by 16 foot. I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers at y'all. This box is 4 foot by 16 foot. In that, I started doing it by 5-gallon buckets. I figured that was a good way for me to do measuring. And so what I ended up doing was that I needed 16 5-gallon buckets of the peat moss, the vermiculite, and the manure. And the manure I mixed up between rabbit, cow, goat, chicken, and just our regular compost. So it was sort of and very little of the chicken though, because I didn't want to burn everything up. So in that box now I have 2. This is the peat moss that I use. I have 2 of these 3.8 cubic foot peat moss bags in. I have 5 of the vermiculite that are 2 cubic foot. And I ended up putting, which made me have my buckets that I needed, and then I put 16 buckets of manures into this bed. Okay. So the next thing that I did was that I took T-post. I took 6-foot tall T-post, and I hammered them into the ground. Put one at the halfway point and one at the far point. And then I took, because I'm going to be putting cardboard down all over where all the paths are, and then covering that with the wood chips for pathways. I went ahead and I put this cardboard down, and right here, you can just barely see it, I drove it this far into the ground, is a tent stake. And I did the same thing on the other side, and I tied string, wrapped it around the post, and came across. And by the way, the string is recycled from my hay bales. I just took and just tied it together, I didn't do a very fancy job of tying it together, but I tied it together. So I went and wrapped it around the post there. And then I used 4-inch, what do you call those things? I'm trying to think. Cable ties, 4-inch cable ties that I had. And I wrapped the 4-inch cable ties around where the string was, both at the top and the bottom. And I already had this mesh that I had bought, 3-4 years ago and had on hand. So, let me show you the label that came off of the mesh. It's that. I think we have a cat. I think we have a cat in the bag. Do we have a cat in the bag? Hey, kitty, kitty. Do we have a cat in the bag? Yep, we had a cat in the bag. Crazy little cat. Hey, baby. So, that's what I've done so far. This is my first raised bed. This one is 16 foot long by 4 foot long. I'm not going to make a whole bunch of them this long. 16 foot. Just remember that I'm an older woman, and this stuff is all pretty heavy. What I did to get the stuff mixed up that was